Good evening and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you for our third session of our year-long series called Investing in God Equals Investing in You. Today's topic, we will talk about having success for our children. We have four wonderful educators with us who will answer some questions and give us some tips. And I'm so glad to have all four of them agree. So what I'm going to do is let them introduce themselves and we will go from there. So Reverend Dean, can we start with you?
Yes, my name is Reverend Rose Dean, assistant at Pilgrim Baptist Church in Summit. Been teaching for 28 years in the Plainfield school systems, taught 1/4 at a junior college, but I have basically taught 15 years in kindergarten. I've taught 15 years in first grade, 5 years in kindergarten, 1 year third grade, 1 year basic skills, and I've spent the last 6 years in fourth grade teaching reading and writing.
All right,
that's my educational background.
All right, so we know we got elementary school covered here, so early education covered. JoAnn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm JoAnn Peterson-Tyler, and I'm an elementary school social worker in Linden. I've been in Linden 25 years, January. Prior to that, I worked with the state of New Jersey for 16 years. So I'm basically what we call a school-based social worker. So I provide services to the children and to the teachers. And in my building, we have nursery 3-year-olds up through 5th grade.
All right. Next, Gail, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Lillian Gail Alston. This is my 21st year as a teacher, but I was a secretary for 8 years at the Union County Technical School, and I had the opportunity to go to college for free.
Wow.
So I'm a big opponent of telling my students that there's plenty of money for you to go to school, because I went when I was in my 40s and I didn't have to pay to go to college. So I know that the opportunity for them as young people is even more vast than it was for me. I'm a special ed teacher at Westville High School. I am the president of the Westville Education Association, and I love working with my high school students.
Okay, great, thank you. So you got high school covered. And now Alexis, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexis Allen-Penn. I am currently a middle school counselor, but I have been in education going on 17 years. I taught K through 12. I've also taught the evening program for adult high school at my former high school. I did teach kindergarten. That was a trying couple of years. So you have to definitely know when you get into education where your niche is. And my niche is with middle school and high school students.
Awesome. So as you can see, we have almost 100 years right together of educational experience between these four ladies. So this should definitely be an interesting topic. So I'm going to jump right into it, ladies, and ask you a question that we were just trying to ponder and really get some information around. So the first question I want to ask is, what do you feel is what is the biggest blocker to success for our kids? And when you think about it, is it the same now that we're in the pandemic, or was it different? So just give me your perspectives on that. Whoever would like to go first can start.
I guess. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead,
No, go ahead, JoAnn, you can go.
All right, now I'm gonna call on people next time.
Okay.
Okay, JoAnn, go ahead.
Okay, so again, when Connie had sent us the information, what is the biggest barrier to success facing our children? Barriers, it could be a lot of different barriers. I don't know if there's one biggest one, but I think I would start by saying the disengagement of parents. Parents not actively participating in the learning of their children. Along with that, different adversities that families are going through. Drug and alcohol abuse, relocating, housing, incarceration, many, many things. Poverty, another one, poverty. Safe schools, safe communities. The way our teachers are teaching our children. Are they dedicated? Are they also sympathetic and empathetic to the needs of the children? So I think there's a variety of different barriers to the success of our children.
But I think the biggest one, and I know that it's Reverend Allen, but he'll always be Detective Allen to us. When I came to Westfield, and I'm a product of 7 children, my mom always was involved in our education. Like, when you came home, you did your homework, and then you went outside.
Right.
But I realized in Westfield, the students have a huge relationship with their parents. They talk to them, they know what's going on. So therefore, their parents are very involved in what they do. And we do have that pocket of students who don't have in Westfield, but parents being involved is the strongest stakeholder you could possibly have. I tell my high school students, never argue with your teacher. Your parent is your biggest advocate. If something's not right, you go home and you let that parent do that fight for you.
Yeah.
And I think that it involves all of us, the teachers. The teachers need to have a strong administration for it to work. Our parents need to not always trust who's teaching their kids.
Right.
Because it isn't like when we went to school, our parents held teachers up in a high standard. We have a lot of teachers, we know they should not be in a classroom.
That's true. That is true.
Wow. Alexis or Reverend Dean, is there something different you would add?
I would agree with everything that the ladies had stated, as well as when we have the opportunity to be on PTOs as parents, and again, as stakeholders in the community, be involved with what's going on, whether you have children or not. I do believe that it's important for people, the students rather, and the teachers to see the community as a whole. So what does the children look like? The children will resemble what's in the community. So us as a community all need to come together and show up at the school when they have these school meetings and go, listen, this is what is required in our district. This is what is required in our 25 block radius. We need this from these teachers. I do find it that when I was in the classroom, some of my neighboring class teachers did not care about students if those parents never showed up.
Yeah.
It's very hard to love on a student, care about a student if I never see their parents. So I'm going to automatically kind of like, these kids, they'll be okay, but I'm going to focus on the kids that I know their parents are going to kind of be like those helicopter parents like we have in Westfield. Irvington, we don't have helicopter parents. Jersey City, I didn't have helicopter parents. When I left Jersey City after almost 14 years there to go to Irvington, I had report cards in my desk drawer from the first year I taught, because no one ever came to pick up those students' report cards. So like JoAnn said, and Miss Alston said, there has to be accountability for the parents, and then as the community as a whole to stand up for the parents who may not know how to stand up for their children or for themselves.
But sometimes we have to reach out to those parents, because we have parents who work at night. We have grandparents taking care of their children. And if you just make that phone call to that grandmother and says, so-and-so's not doing something, you'd be surprised how their attention comes to things. Like, I have gone to students' homes and knocked on that door because I care about them doing well. And sometimes we have to reach out, even though, like Mrs. daughter-in-law of Miss Reverend / Allen, detective, I don't care what they call you, Ron, it's just Ron tonight. That we have to, if you don't have to be a helicopter parent, but you need to know that parent, know that you care about their child to do well. And once they know that you are in their corner, they're going to stand by you too. I don't care their social economical standard. You can come from dirt poor, and as long as you care about that child's going to look up to you and want to do well and give it its best. It may not be your A student, but they will give it its best.
Okay, Reverend Dean, you were trying to say something? Go ahead, Reverend Dean.
I was just going to say, in my 28 years, the major barrier that I see is the lack of value for education in the home
True.
and the children. I do my best to try to make them understand how important education is. And when I talk to parents, I try to get an understanding of where they are. But even if they don't seem to value it, I still try to make those kids understand how important it is. And when I was growing up, my parents valued education. We needed to go to college. My parents were sharecroppers, but they actually encouraged us to get an education. I'm not seeing that today with a lot of parents. I'm just not seeing them seeing it something that's important. So to me, the biggest barrier today, if we can get our parents and our students to value education, it is very powerful that you learn to read and write and be a self-supporting citizen.
Exactly.
I think it would make a major difference. And whether they are, for me, parents who are always around or not around, I try to help that child because they don't have the role models that we may have grown up with.
Yeah.
That is definitely key.
True.
And you ladies touched on some of those things about what we can do as a community, but let's explore that a little further. What can we do, us aunties, if we're not parents, us aunties, us people out in the community that may not have kids? How do we encourage and keep the focus on these children? What can we do?
I guess I can start off this time. I think it takes a whole village.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, for children.
Yeah.
So if you have nieces, nephews, or whoever, and you see, or grandchildren, that their parents don't have time to read to them, to take them to the library, you could step in and do things like that and teach them our history. I do that with my grandbabies now, and they're very young, but you need to let them know that people who look like them have done great things. Yeah. And you want them to do great things. Mm-hmm. And I say that to my fourth graders all the time. And I got a mixture of children. I said, there's someone who looks like you who's done something great. And I want you to know you can do something great. And I try to build them up and make them feel. A lot of parents aren't having those conversations in the morning or in the evening or around the dinner table. A lot of my students are playing video games at night. I didn't get to do my homework. I was on Fortnite. I was on this. So parents are not parenting. And we as a people, we've been taking care of people's babies all our lives. And I don't know why we have kind of dropped the ball.
When it comes to our own babies.
A lot of grandmothers, my first year of teaching, I had 5 grandmothers taking care of their children's children. So they couldn't help them with homework. And I met with them after school, and this was 3rd grade. And I said to them, give them food and shelter. I'll keep them after school, help them with their homework. You don't have to try to do this math because they didn't know how to do it.
Know how to do it.
And so what I'm saying, you got to go the extra step. You can't assume, you can't make any assumptions as aunties, uncles, teachers, instructors, because you can't assume everybody has a little white desk and go home and sit, can do their homework. The mom gives them a little snack on the side. That ain't happening. Don't assume it. We can't make assumptions in education. You got to be in there teaching from the heart.
Totally.
And that's why we have to get to know our students, not just be a paycheck. You come in, do your job, and you go home. You got to be a part of the community. You got to know your students. You got to have that door open where they want to talk to you about something that's bothering them that they can't talk about at home. But we as teachers, our job has become very involved. Like I would have never shared a story with any of my teachers. Well, I don't think they actually cared, but I think once they open up to us, like when I take Reverend Allen, when he left the high school, he could have just kept on walking, but he became so involved with his community that made a huge difference to a lot of the students that I work with PAL. And without him, I wouldn't have PAL. And without PAL, We went and had a young lady who was born on crack, made a connection with her teachers, and awards night at Westfield High School, she got more money than all the white kids who was in AP and honors classes. And I mean, the pride that I felt in her is because of the connection that we made with her. Just having that conversation with her telling me how her mom left her in the hospital.
Wow.
And it just grew from there. But it was two white teachers who really took her under their wing and thought the world of her. So it's not all about the color of our skin. We need to make our kids understand the value of getting education, that the window of opportunity is wide open
Right.
for them as long as they do the right thing. And we can walk the walk with them. We can't walk the walk for them.
True, true.
You know, I want to just add something in there if I could. I've kind of watched as my wife has taught online and gone through that experience, especially with what's going on with COVID. And I'm blessed to know all of the women that are here on the panel and know how hard they work. And one of the things that I think is missing, you know, as Connie was kind of asking about, is what can people do? And one of the biggest things is also that we have to remember that our teachers, our advisors, our whoever they might be in the school system, they're people too. And there's a thing that is forgotten about how much this weighs on them, number one, how much effort is being put forth, the things that they've got to deal with when they get home. You know, so for the aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and all of those people who are on, you know, the support team, so to speak, you know, we've got to remember that we have to also be an advocate for that teacher. You know, sometimes you say, well, we don't know what's going on in that child's home. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on in that teacher's home either, right? We don't know what it is that they've got to do. So there is a combination of things. If we're going to be a village, then we need to be a village. And the key is to support our teachers as well. So if mommy and daddy coming home talking about, yeah, I'm about to go and tell that teacher off because she don't understand. I got to work 15 hours and I got to do this and I got to do, guess what? When she's done, she probably got kids at home. She's got to make sure their homework is done and that they got food and that they're ready for school the next day, and to check and make sure they're doing all the things that they need to do. You know, my wife doesn't get off the computer sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night. She's calling teachers. She's getting her stuff translated to the teachers that, you know, to the parents that don't speak English. There's so much stuff that's going on. We forget sometimes as parents that teacher has, you know, a life of their own and the things that they've got to do. You know, there is a support system. So as a family, we've got to step in. If you know that your family member has got 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever it is, and they got to deal with homework, and you got some time, offer to help them with their homework. You know, step in and check. You know, we were always checked up on our grades as kids by the whole family. You know, everybody was checking and asking us about our grades and how we were doing and what we were doing. And it wasn't just oh, you did your best. If we were messing up, we were told we were messing up. So the key is that if we're going to be a village, we need to be a village and support as a whole community on all sides, because there's some teachers out there who are getting burnt out and being run into the ground, especially during COVID. And if we can't be there to support them, then you're going to turn around and get mad because your child fell, you know, by the wayside, and you don't understand how the teacher missed them. You don't understand how the teacher didn't catch that. Well, it's because she's probably got 32 kids in her class. He's got 15 kids, but 5 of them are ranked under special needs. So we don't know what's going on. So we have to be a complete community, not just support mommy and daddy, but support the teachers, the aides, and the principals and everybody else too. That's one of the things that I've noticed just by observing and what's going on, especially during COVID. It has brought a new light to my eyes as far as what teachers have to go through just to get a parent to answer the phone. You know, it's a difficult thing. So I would say that be advised, you know, if the school allows, be on the call list. Maybe you could be somebody that they call if they can't get in touch with mommy and daddy about homework and grades. If you're a godparent or whoever, they can call you and say, hey, listen, we've tried to reach out to such and such's parent. You're on the list. We just want to let you know what's going on.
That is
Because then now
definitely a
the
good
child
point.
can get a full community, you know?
Definitely a good point.
Yeah, no, Ron, that was amazing because most of the people who are on the Zoom know that half of us here are all related, right? So we've all had our own individual struggles and life issues. Myself, I know that if it wasn't for my family, blood family, chosen family as friends, and then work family, because every building that I've worked in, we've become a family where we still check in with each other. So if it wasn't for them, a lot of the things that I've gone through with my oldest son, I probably would not have been able to still get up every day and go into work. So it is very important to have a support system and then have accountability partners and then be okay with saying, I'm not okay. So my job now, one of the reasons why I became a school counselor was I felt like I wasn't reaching all of the students that would beat down my door. So kids would graduate from 8th grade and they would still come back to the elementary school where I taught. They would move on from 4th grade and be in 8th grade and they'd be in my classroom because they couldn't deal with the teacher that was upstairs. So I felt like, you know what, if I'm counseling anyway, maybe that's where I need to be. So now as a middle school counselor, I'm not just counseling my middle school students, I'm speaking to and checking on my teachers. I'm checking on my building administrators. I'm sometimes a sounding board for the parents because, especially like Ron said during COVID, they are frustrated and they can't do the math. Like Pastor Dean said, they don't understand what the technology is going through. So we sometimes as school counselors serve 1,000 different roles for 1,000 different aspects and people and community stakeholders. So it's important to just acknowledge, like Ron said, that the teachers are burnt out. We know the parents are burnt out. The kids are burnt out. It's hard to sit in front of a computer as an adult. It's extremely hard to sit in front of a computer as a K through 12 student and just sit there and look at little boxes and
No,
have to
that's right.
acknowledge what's going on and make sure that you're awake and make
Hard.
sure that you're not fidgeting in your seat. Make sure that your screen is on all the time. So the thing is that we have to be accountable for everybody. Connie asked what the aunties can do.
Yep.
Aunties, be accountability partners. My mom didn't have to take on everything because she had Aunt Sharon, she had Aunt Cynthia, she had Pumpkin, she had JoAnn, she had our grandparents. So we as parents now, Ron and Chi-Chi don't have to take on everything because when the girls get too much, I'm like, bring them over. What do we need to go over? We need to do ABCs? Not a problem. We can do that. And we have so many people in our family that, like Ron said, education was important. We literally could not go into anybody's door and nobody asked us what's going on with school. How come you didn't do this? And our kids are the same way. Chi, the last time she saw the boys, hey boys, how you doing in school? What's going on? You know your colors, you know this, and it's accountability for everywhere. And that little check-in will send a little message to the students to go, wait, I don't just have to deal with mommy and daddy. I have to deal with auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, my big cousins. Oh no, I got to get myself together. Like I can't not do my work. And if I have a question, I have to ask. And that's the other part. We have to be okay with asking questions.
Definitely a good point. JoAnn, was there something you were trying to interject?
No, everyone, I'm agreeing with everything that everyone is saying. I'm in Linden. I've been there 25 years and I have worked with families for 25 years. I've watched kids grow up, graduate, and go off to college. But again, it's, the work that I do in Linden, I'm like a buffer, because I do, like Alexis and like Ronald was saying, I understand what teachers are going through. It's a lot. And a lot of the teachers in my building, they have families. They're doing virtual and they have kids sitting there that they're trying to teach, that they're putting on the computer, and then they're going on the computer. So it can be overwhelming. And again, all of us, we have to work together. Sometimes when I need to get in touch with families, I call down the list. I'm calling cousins, aunts, uncles, next door neighbors. I try to connect with any of them. And I know I shouldn't be telling some of their business, but it's like, I need that person. I need to let you know that that kid is failing, or they haven't done homework, or they turn on the computer and then they disappear. In Linden, you have to be on that computer for 4 hours, from 8:25 to 12:25. So a lot of times teachers are calling me. I had the principal texting me one time because she was doing an observation for the teacher, and the little boy was jumping all over the bed. And I'm like, oh my God. And the teacher was being observed. So I'm here, and then I'm calling, getting the list, calling down to tell the grandmother, please set the little boy down. He's having a ball. So it's this pandemic has really caused a lot of situations with our children. And a lot of kids, again, their learning styles. Some kids are visual learners, some kids are hands-on, some kids need to be in the building. So it's difficult. So, we're now going to have to deal with the lag, that what has happened in that year. How can we bring the kids up to where they need to be academically? Because they're losing some bits and pieces along the way.
Good point. That is definitely a good point. Coming out of this pandemic and bringing them back in, how to get them to where they need to be, because you're right, learning styles are very different for kids as well as adults. So and when you talk about being on the computer all day and at meetings, I do that at work and I struggle. So I can imagine being a little kid trying to focus and pay attention. So I so get that.
Exactly.
Okay, very good conversation so far, ladies. Another question that I wanted to bring up with you guys is public education often is viewed as not as good as private or charter. And I wanted us to talk about that today. How do we combat those stereotypes that public schools are not good? Now, I myself is a product of public school, and I think I'm pretty good. I think it turned out darn good for it. But, this is the stereotype that people have in mind about public schools not being good and not producing success. How do you feel about that? I'll start with you, JoAnn, since we're on you.
Well, I had a little issue with this particular question, because again, I think all of us, we're from public schools. I think we could say public schools, charter schools, and private schools. I think they all have issues. Number one, the professionalism, the quality of your teachers. I think that's the most important thing. If you're getting certified teachers teaching with degrees, and they're made accountable with the state. I know with the state of New Jersey, we're doing observations, we're doing SGOs. All of that stuff is accountability. How your kids are testing, are they passing? If they're not passing. So there's different mandates that are plugged in to assess and to make sure the teachers are doing what they're supposed to do when it comes to the curriculum. So public education, I think on the whole, is fine. Different communities are doing very well. Westville, Summit, Scotch Plains, those communities are doing good when it comes to the curriculum and kids. And what they do is they're looking at the number of kids who are graduating high school on time. When they rank the high schools, when they rank schools in the state of New Jersey or across the globe, all over the United States, that's an important factor. The number of kids going to college, the number of kids that are graduating high school on time. So I don't think public education is as bad as people say.
Okay.
I really don't believe that.
Okay. Reverend Dean,
And if
would
you
like
look at
to
the
comment on that?
statistics, if you look at the statistics, 85% of parents believe that New Jersey public education works,
Yeah,
like the respect they have for it.
they do.
And I don't care if it's an urban school or a suburban school or rural school. Public education is what you put into it.
Mhm.
You have to be willing to go to school and do what is
Yeah.
accountable. My
Yeah.
thing about private school is they're not held to the same standard.
They're
We've
not.
had kids go to private schools in Westville and they come back to the high school and their education isn't even up to par yet because their parents put them there because of the prestige of that private school to get them into college. But they're really not getting the same, in my view, they're not getting the same quality education
Right.
than public school because we're held to that standard.
Yeah.
You know, we're always being observed. Like we always have, our curriculum has to be in place, and
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
it's. But I believe in public education. I think that we do a good job, and I'm going to keep doing what I like doing. You know,
Mhm.
So Reverend Dean, you were trying to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the difference between a public school and private school to me is you can't cookie cut a public school classroom. We have the haves and have-nots.
They have to
Yes.
bring them in. Yeah.
You understand? So we're going to deal with everybody. And I think whether it's a private school or public school, we need teachers who are teaching from the heart.
Yeah.
See, you need to meet the kids where they're at, not talk about them because they can't read on the right grade level, but try to bring them up. We have to teach from the heart, regardless of where we are. I'm a product. I went to Catholic school for 7.5 years, and once the schools were integrated, my parents sent us to public school. So the nuns were awesome, but they taught from the heart. It doesn't necessarily mean because you go to this high charge, you pay all this money for private school that they're better than the public, but you might have the same kind of rich people there. You see, they could be a cookie cut type classroom because they got the same parents with their nannies and mammies and whoever they got, but I think in public school, I think it can work. I think we have to work hard like we do. I think we got to meet the kids where they're at.
Right.
And do our best to try to educate the parents. If the parents don't want to join you, you keep trying to help that child. We have to try to keep helping the children. So I don't see private schools as better. During Jim Crow, sending us to Catholic school was better because the Black schools didn't have books and playgrounds like the white kids did. So, but today, I think we need to, and even if we are at the top of the school administrators, we need to work from the heart and teach from the heart.
Good point, Reverend Dean. That I think putting your heart in anything you do, you have to be successful, and people realize that for any type of job you have, if your heart's not in it, it's noticeable. And especially in the profession of teachers, and you're influencing our children, you have to do it because you love to do it. Because if you think about it, the money's really not there. That's not where the big bucks are at. So you have to do it because you love it and it's in your heart. So that is definitely a good point. I didn't know, Alexis, if you wanted to add to that topic or not.
I actually happen to have my 2 boys in a charter school. That charter school happened to have filled a need for us. Winton has very special and particular care, and because of their smaller school, that's why we sent them there. The school happens to be a block away from their father's job. So that school served a need for us and will continue to serve a need until they get to a certain grade level, and then we'll move them to a public school where we live. Again, I'm a product of Catholic school, public school, and then a specialized high school, and then a Christian-based university. So my dealings with public school, it was, for the most part, my whole entire life, especially with my mom being a teacher at public school for almost 38 years. So public school is what I know. But like I believe Pastor Dean said earlier, it's important for us to show the students people who are successful that look like them. So my mission was to never, ever, ever leave an urban area public school, because I wanted to make sure when I spoke to those students, they saw somebody that looked like them, that was successful. I have my degrees in my classroom then, but now in my office, because I want them to see that they may not have the same career path as me, but it's possible.
Right.
So awesome. Thank you. We have a couple of questions that popped up, questions and comments that popped up in the
You have a hand raised
chat.
also.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to open it up for questions because I want to give people a chance to be part of the dialogue. So let me see, whoever has their hand up, if you would like to go.
That was me.
Okay.
Speaking as far as like the public schools and the private school, I teach in a public school, and I always believe that relationship with the students is key. Like, I feel like the teachers who come to the school and they have that mindset, I'm here for a paycheck, I'm just going to do my job and leave. Those are the ones that lose the kids. Those are the ones that then turn the school climate, like the culture of the school is not where it's supposed to be. Because then if you have those teachers and then they turn around and influence other teachers, then it becomes a bad culture climate in the school. So definitely relationship is key. Like, it can't just be, I'm going to do my job and leave. And I noticed that that is happening a lot in public school. Like, I've taught in Newark for a few years, and now I'm in Plainfield, and I've been there for longer. And I have met other teachers. I've been in the 7th grade math for, I want to say maybe about 5-6 years. And so far I've had at least 4 partners that have been partnered with me in 7th grade math leave. Wow. And a lot of them most of them have left because they had that mentality. I'm here to do, get my paycheck and leave. And then the kids see that. The kids see, and they can, even if you don't open up your mouth and say that I'm just going to do my job and leave, they can clearly see it when you're teaching them. And they can see that you don't like them. That's what I've always said. Kids do not learn from teachers that don't like them. They're not going to learn. They're not going to learn. They're not going to want to be there. And that is why these teachers that I've had have left, because it's become difficult for them to teach these kids. And it's like, then I've told a few of them, like, well, if you're showing them that you don't like them, you're showing them that this is not where you want to be, they're going to see that, and they're not going to want to learn from you. And then it then pushes, it just changed the whole thing. So I think that is a lot of reasons why parents, like some parents feel like public schools are not that great, is because of teachers. It has to do with the teachers and their mentality of, well, I'm just going to do my job and leave. And it shouldn't be like that.
Can I add something real quick before she's done? I personally had Miss Alston in my corner as a high school student.
Wow.
And I know I have a different name, so it's weird calling her Miss Alston. But, if it wasn't for teachers like her, Peter Horn, who is still one of my greatest mentors and still reaches out to me every now and then, and a host of other people, doing exactly what she said, teachers need to do. It was I never felt like, Miss Alston ever was there for a paycheck. She would seek me out for various things, made me do things even if I didn't want to do those things, volunteer my name for things I didn't want to do. But you know what? It was one of those things that when I was trying to be a low-key kid, she didn't allow me to be that. She didn't allow me to kind of hide in the school, and we had a large class, but she allowed me to be somebody who, became an influence even when I didn't necessarily think I was or wanted to be. I'm very grateful for teachers like that. And it's one of those things that, you really never know how much power you have until you do something like that as an educator. And I have, never forgotten the influence that she had over me. And I know there are a lot of children that went through that high school, and particularly those of color, and especially the African-American students who love her dearly, would come to her aid if all she had to do was just raise not even a full hand, and they would come and be there for her. And it's only because they did not just come in and do their job. They did not do the job description. So it's very important that teachers are like that, because I'm a product of teachers like that for sure.
Thank you for sharing that, Ronald. That was definitely, people don't realize, well, I think teachers don't get their credit while it's due to them. I think more people should especially come back and give those responses to let them know how they influence them. Then maybe the next generation of teachers will be like, I want to be like Miss Alton. That influence she had over those kids. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Can I just ask a question to the teachers? Because I know Gail knows, but what mentoring programs in the school district, and Angela Gamble brought that up about mentoring. What type of teacher to teacher programs do they have? What type of teacher to student programs are there that if not, maybe you have stuff, but if not, maybe it can happen in your school district, or it can spread to other school districts or whatever. What are the other things like that out there that can bring that community together?
Well, Plainfield has a mentoring program for new teachers, and two of my mentees are in the house tonight. I see them, and my student teachers that I've had are here tonight. But for a first-year teacher, as an educator, I have a mentee now. I have to meet with her. We meet almost every day and talk. And we meet. The great thing about virtual now, we can look at each other and we can share screens, and she can show me things, I can show her things. So we do have a program in place to mentor teachers coming in. And I do real talk with my mentees. Good. I really try to help them understand what it is they need to focus on the children. And most of my mentees have watched me teach, have been my student teachers, they've seen me, and they know how I deal with the children. And so we do have a program, and I've been mentoring for a long time.
That's good.
Would any, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys may have in Linden, JoAnn?
Yeah, we have teacher to teacher. So new teachers coming in, they are paired with a seasoned teacher. Okay. And basically, but it's mostly on curriculum, teaching them how to understand it, our strategic plan, 5-year plan. But it's so hard to, again, just like Reverend Dean said, your heart has to be in this. You have to want to teach. You have to have the love for it. I work in a building where there's a lot of people that are there that my building is 99% minority. And I think we have 4 Black teachers.
Wow.
My building is 99% minority. And
that's crazy.
Hispanic and Black. And we have I'm going to say 5 Black teachers. And I'm the social worker in the building. And we have some paras that go into the classroom to help the teachers. So I can say, I don't want to say too much, but I'm going to say that it's hard because a lot of those teachers are not dedicated to our children, don't understand our children. Just last week, and I told the principal, I don't want to say too much, but there's a terminology that's called white privilege. And I had a discussion last week with the principal because I'm at the point now where I'll just put it out there. I'm retiring July 1st. So my motto is, what you gonna do to me? I'm leaving. So, and I had a conversation with the principal because the teacher, we're doing virtual learning. So the 2 children, there were 2 students that were sitting on the floor at their house, sitting on the floor. So the teacher emails me to say, oh, I've been trying to get in touch with these students and they're sitting on the floor. And I asked the lady if you could put the kids in a chair, at a table, at a desk. And again, very judgmental. And I called her out on it. And we were trying to resolve the situation, but the parent was like, I want my child out of that class. The principal got involved, but I told the principal, judgmental. I don't know what the house, I don't even know if the kids have a desk. I don't know if they have a chair. They're learning, they're sitting on the floor. And a lot of kids do sit on the floor. But that whole scenario just rubbed me the wrong way. And I called the teacher out on it and I called the principal out on it. That, we can't have teachers like that teaching our kids when you don't know the situation.
Now, I'm gonna break in for a second just because I love this person so much. My friend Chris is there and he's got his hand up. Okay. And so I love him. He, I could add another son. I take Chris as a son. But go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. I just had a quick question for you guys. So I think one of the issues at hand per se this evening is that it seems like we have a lot of excellent educators and we have excellent families who have been very much so involved in their children, and people come from families with support networks. And, I think that all of that, those are all things that we have highlighted as ways to experience success in public or private schools or just school in general, right? And but the reality is, as you guys have all kind of alluded to, is that in our communities and some of the schools, that just doesn't exist. Like, they do not have parental involvement, and we've mentioned that's critical. And they do not have, anyone around them supporting them, and they may not have the resources that they need. We mentioned that we don't know what their home life looks like, and now they're virtual, and it's just been very, very difficult. So I think it seems like there is consensus around the recipe for success, but it also appears as though, that recipe may not necessarily be realistic for a lot of the people that we are attempting to educate. So the question that I have for you is just, if we're going to just accept the default scenario that they will not have that parental environment, that parental involvement, they will not have the resources, what else can be done? What can we do to, close the achievement gap, as people like to say? What can we do to allow our people to experience success in spite of some of the disadvantages that we've highlighted here?
Well, I think, and I agree with you, all of our students are going to come to, in that home life, be that situation. But we as teachers take notice of that child that don't have. And sometimes we have to go that extra step to help them.
Yeah.
Like to have something extra for them, or reach out to the social worker to find out if that child needs a pair of glasses, how do we get them glasses? Or we have a big, support group at Westville High School that when kids need stuff at Christmas, we make sure they get it.
Yeah.
But the teacher, I think that, it's that Latin term, when you drop that child off at school, we become the parent.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the parent, but we do become the parent. Like, I had a student the other day said, Miss Alston, I know you got food in your room, but you can't eat in school anymore. So I had to let him know that he couldn't eat, but he knew that if he needed something to eat, and I still on the sly let them eat, even though they said they can't have food. But we have to pay attention to that child, how they're being taken care of, or, it's just a sense that as educators, because we care, we know that child who needs us. And when we care, we go that extra step. We find out how we can help that child. And we do it to the point where they're not embarrassed about it, because nothing makes them feel worse than feeling that they're being pitied about, like, we have to make them feel just as wanted as that child who has $100 pair of shoes on. So we have to care about what we do. Exactly. And I know that the state of New Jersey has a mentoring program for all new teachers, and that's a law.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's where it's different. And I think when we talked about private and charter school and public school, it got a little mixed, because when I think private school, I think those high-end, well-off children go to. Charter schools are great for kids who want to learn, and they're not involved with all the other nonsense. But then again, sometimes I think it's a segregated way of not including all our kids. And because I sent my kids to Catholic school, but we have to know where our kids are, whether it's public school, charter school, private school. Parents have to be involved. And if they don't have that parent who's locked up and that grandparent is older and can't do the math, we have to step in and help. We have to have that program ready for them. And the state and NJEA has a program, First Family. Any teacher can get funds to have parents be involved and help provide them. So it's all of us that has to make this work.
So is First Family, I'm sorry, you said something about First Family. Is First Family New Jersey wide?
Yes, it's any school district can get grant money to run this program that connects the family and school.
Yeah.
One of the
I
things,
find- Go
one of
ahead.
the things I just want to say is, so in the beginning, some people were on, but so Gail and I have partnered up for probably 10 years now. And some of you know, I was a police officer, and so I was able to get grant money through Police Athletic League. And so what we've been doing is, and it's probably amazing in some aspects, because people ask me, how do I get teachers, probably about 15 or so teachers, to come once a week and give their time to kids, as well as having kids from National Honor Society to come and be part of a mentoring program. Because once those people realize the value of what they do for those kids and what kids can do for each other, that I think, Chris, is what you were kind of leading towards. We have to somehow, in our community, in our Black community, we grew up in Westfield. There were 2 community centers. We were part of those community centers where they had tutoring and all of that kind of stuff. I think in the community, we have to build those type of programs through churches, connecting to schools, police department connecting with schools. All of those things have to come, because Chris hit it right on the head. There are a lot of kids that are not going to get exactly what they need unless there are some programs that are going to help everybody, parents as well. So we used to feed, we still do. We feed the kids. We took them on trips. We did all sorts of things to draw these kids in. But one of the things I would say to you is, if your school has National Honor Society program, that's the kids that are going to make a big difference in there. Gail mentioned the young lady who was born on crack, went through, when she came into our program, we were going twice a week. She got kicked out twice a week.
I would put my hand up. You can't come in here.
But the point
attitude
I'm
was
saying is that at the end result, when she started high school, she probably had a 1.3 grade average.
Yeah.
Graduated with a 3.75 grade. She got a full ride to Johnson and Wales. She's now a successful chef down in Atlanta, doing very well. But I think that the reality of it is that, you know, the old saying, if we build it, they'll come. We're not going to get every kid, but I think one of the things that I wanted to do, and we're going to continue this, because the other aspect of this that I said before is there's not enough male teachers that are role models as well.
True.
In the school districts. We were fortunate for a short time to have in Westfield probably one of the best principals around. Unfortunately, he passed away. But I think that we have to build this thing, and the church is part of building it. The structure of who's ever in the town is responsible. When we do have great teachers doing it, I think we have to just pull all of our resources in there and keep working in that direction. So there are other people, you know, we don't have to stop exactly at 8 o'clock, but there's some more people. I think, Angela, you still on there? You had a great question. I think you should ask it. The people that are on, if you have questions, please unmute yourself and speak up, because you know, this is the purpose of having these 4 people. I think that they're very, very well educated in what they do. Are you on there, Angela? All right, let me ask it for her.
Go
She
ahead.
says, are there any mental health services offered to teachers, especially during this unprecedented time?
Yes.
Yeah.
On our NJA has an 800 number for
Yeah.
all our teachers to
Yeah.
call during this time.
Okay, can one of you get that to Connie? We want to post
Yeah.
that with our information about this. There are other people that ask questions, so if you're on there, unmute yourself. Don't be afraid. Let me just look. Kyla, are you on there still? Hello, Kyla? Okay, so Kyla had a question. She said, I think it's important to our kids to get them in front of opportunities, careers, and teach them about opportunities that they do not see on every day. Somebody on the panel just want to grab that and give us a quick.
Pastor, before they start, this is Kyla's mom.
Okay. Jennifer.
I had her list. She was listening to it, but she was at work and her phone was about to die. So she,
Okay.
that's why
All
she's
right.
not on anymore. But thank you for putting that out there.
Okay. So Alexis, were you going to answer that?
So as a school counselor, one of my jobs is to not just speak to the children about how they're feeling, what they're going through, or their grades. It is to foster the connection between college and career. So we know that all careers do not require a 4-year college. Some things require you to have a trade. So now it's important for us to bring the trade aspect into college and career day. And I know for me, like I said before, I've only worked in an urban education setting, and it's important for me to do so. So my college and career days are only with Black and brown people. That is the only people I allow to come in my building. Whether they have degrees, whether they have a 2-year associate, whatever it is, those are the only people that I allow to come into my building for my career day. Because for me, it's important for my children, my Black and brown and tan babies, to see this is what you're going to look like in 10 and 15 years. You're going to look like these people. You can be a plumber. You can be an electrician. Electricians make way more money than educators. So you can do that.
Yes.
And I'm 100% authentic and real with them when the boys are like, well, I'm going to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a football player. I can introduce you to a couple of those too. But the ones that I bring in, they'll tell you, look, I had to play overseas because having a United States NBA contract was very meek. Like they're 100% authentic with them. I have friends that played in the NBA, but they got hurt, and what happened to their career? Their career is gone.
Yeah.
So they now understand, okay, well, I need to have a backup plan. And if I like being promoting music, or if I like finances, maybe my backup should be business management. Maybe my backup should be accounting. So yeah, you can have these wonderful dreams of being a football player and a basketball player, and you can have a wonderful dream of being Beyonce, but when you become Beyonce, can you count your own money? Can you read your contract and understand that you're not being cheated out of your money? Can you do that? And if you can't do that, then maybe that career is not for you, because I know the one thing we were always taught, to read something before you sign it. So we bring lawyers in. I have my former students that are actually law students. So I don't just bring people who are already solidified in the profession. I bring my former students who are just jumping into the profession or studying to be in the profession, so that they see the process of where it started and where it will end.
You touched on a point that Chris also made during his speaks about, making sure that the kids understand there's a good thing with getting a good job. Your side hustle is cool, and wanting to be a star is wonderful, but let's focus on getting one good job so you don't have to do all these things. And everybody can't be that singer, but if you want to sing on the side, but get a good job.
Right.
So it ties all these points together. Let's see. I think there was another question that popped up about, I know Sharon, you had one out here about the pandemic forcing parents to teach. If anybody wants to answer that one, I think that's obvious, but we can definitely get your perspectives on it.
Right. My question was more around, if you were talking about public school versus private school, the other question that came to mind for me was that some parents, because of their situations, they're working from home. They also now have to become teacher, because they can't send their kid to a school that one day they're on, one day they're off. They're struggling with the schedules. So they've opted to do homeschooling. And I'm wondering if you guys had any perspective on what types of support those types of teachers or those parents might need, or what's available for them, because now they're working a full-time career. They've now taken on teaching their kids. They're probably nanny, nursemaid, doctor, lawyer, all of it.
That's really, I can't imagine what it's like to have to be working and have to have your child online and making sure that they're focused. Because as a high school student, when we left in March, I saw more bedrooms, more kids under the cover, and
Yes.
these are high school kids. So I can't imagine what it's like for the little ones who need that structure, sitting in that chair, focus on that teacher, listening,
Right.
having that social connection to their little friends, and being home all the time where, their mom's telling them to sit down, stay focused. And I, you know, just like Ms. Penn said, I knew that elementary wasn't my niche. And that's why I teach high school, because I believe that they're at the age where they make the decision to do the right thing. But I know that it's really hard on those with children K-5. It is just really hard for them. And with the 6 feet distance, it's hard for schools. We don't invest in school buildings the way we should. We need to have buildings big enough where our kids can come back. Westville's having a hard time right now because they want their kids back in school, but with the 6 feet distance, there isn't enough room. So I don't know I don't have an answer for the little ones. I just know that it is heartbreaking for, especially my special ed kids that are home at that age and they're not getting what they need.
Awesome. We are a bit over, but I don't want to end the conversation if there's other questions. So if there are other questions, feel free to chime in if there are any other questions from anybody on the call.
Honey, I don't have a question, but
Okay.
I wanted to respond to my son's, how are we going to close the achievement gap, with kids don't have parents or don't have the resources. And I just think that all we can do as educators is do the best we can.
Yeah.
That's it.
And, we can identify those kids who have less. I always kept crackers and sometimes bagels in my classroom. Kids come to school sucking a lollipop. This is their breakfast, So I always try to do. I've spent money doing whatever I can do to help somebody, So I just think, Chris, we can just teach from the heart, do the best we can. Our ancestors have had it worse. These kids today, if we can get them to value education, even if it's not the support of their parents, if we just kind of somehow in the classroom, try to give them something that'll make them want to be. And that's what I do every day. I go to give them brain power. I teach to make them feel good about themselves. And so it's a tough situation, but we just, we're in it from the heart. And so we'll help those that we can. We won't get everybody, but we'll do the best we can.
Exactly.
Well, Reverend Dean, on that note, I thank all the panelists for coming today and just being so open and honest with us about your feedback. I think this was great for those who want to get involved and how you can get involved. Some of the things about, one of the things I wrote down was basically what Chi said about relationships being key. And when you think about that, we said that we need to have you teach from the heart. Therefore, we need the teachers to support the teachers to support the students, but the community to support the teachers. So if we can get those three things in line, I think we have a winning formula to be able to help everyone, the teachers, the students, and the community and all overall. So I think that was just a wonderful message and a wonderful way to bring it all together, and just being somebody's accountability partner. And these things will definitely help. And we will definitely share what we learned today. This will be posted out on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel, as Pastor said. And definitely that help number for teachers, and probably to try to encourage teachers who need that mental help to get it. Is definitely something we will share. I hope you all are enjoying these sessions. I know I'm enjoying hosting them. I hope that you plan to join us next week, where we will have Dr. Joseph Graves come and talk to us a little bit. I'm kind of excited about it because he's going to talk about how history and today blends together for where we are. So he's going to talk a little bit about his new book, where he's talking about African Americans and our past history with, with pandemics, with vaccinations, how that influences how we view what's going on today. So it should be a really interesting topic and discussion with him. So I really hope you all plan to join us as well next week. But with that, thank you all for giving us part of your time. And I share is all I can say. Thank you, everyone.
Hold on before everybody goes. If you're interested tonight on PBS at 9:00, they will be talking about the Black church, and part of it will be a church that we affiliate with, Wallace Chapel, and then tomorrow night it'll be back on again. So maybe you want to just take a look at that. And they're a historical church in the city of Summit. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Okay,
Love
bye-bye.
you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, oh my goodness.
Hey.
Oh my goodness.
They gave this to their grandma.
They're my babies.
Oh my goodness.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So they stole the show.
Okay. Those are my babies.
Good baby.
Oh my goodness.
I saw them. They started waving and waving.
They're waving, right?
They should be in bed.
As soon as they saw their grandma, they had
They
to say
heard
something.
you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Miss Jennifer, always good to see you, my love.
All
Bye-bye.
right, good night.
Good night.